relationship with an agent in your area set up.
Some of the basic ways you can get involved is you can start out and just communicating directly with agents, build relationships with agents. I always say this, and it's because I heard this quote from Richard Branson. If I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room.
If you don't have systems and processes in place that you've created and dialed in, then you're not bringing on an employee. You are bringing on a partner without the expectations of what the partner is.
Get educated, but at the end of the day, at some point, you're going to have to take action, and, you have to be an action taker. You just got to go for it.
Wholesaling is simply one exit strategy in a multitude of exit strategies.
Want to go out there and then post a job ad without any of these foundational things in place. Do a little bit of work in the beginning to prepare yourself for massive success and a way easier time managing. Learn how you can skyrocket your real estate business and then get more opportunities to share with private money lenders.
What are you? I'm the fly. Bzzz.
So it's time to make it easy. All of this education without action is just entertainment. It's networking and direct to seller. Start networking and aligning yourselves with other people, because Brad is a case study of this.
At some point, you're going to have to step out of your comfort zone and get it done. It's all going to be on your why. That's going to drive you to do it. So guys, keep it easy. If you're just starting out and you don't have a lot of connections, is to get out there and get involved in other communities, real estate RIAs, other investor groups, and just kind of see what other people are doing. But also using Privy.
If you're on the fence whether you should be putting your content out there, you absolutely 1000% should.
If you want to be a successful business owner, regardless of what niche you're in, you have to hire right.
Is it a skill position that requires, intensive training? Or is it a task-based position that I could train somebody really quickly?
Guys, Chris is a great closer. If you guys need help closing deals.
All right, guys, this should be a deal.
There's people on YouTube having GPT-3 make AI. So AI making AI.
AI babies is what it is.
Educate yourself, continue to pour, and continue to stay in touch with people who either can be mentors, coaches, trainers.
When you identify those and map those out, it's going to put you in a better position to fill those roles and develop your team out. It's not all rainbows and cupcakes, guys. Sometimes deals don't turn out the way you want them to be.
And he goes over there and just bam, flips it, and it gets everywhere. And You're funny.
I have a rounder head. Yes, I have more hair so it looks bigger.
Best dad ever.
Wholesaling is just simply a strategy that I use from time to time, maybe more often than not, to actually transact deals.
Well, if you're just starting out and you don't have a lot of connections, is to get out there and get involved in other communities.
We are real estate investors first and foremost. That's what we're doing all week, all day, every day.
Brad Garcia here.
I'm Chris Deal.
I'm Christian Weatherspoon with Real Estate Investing Made Easy, and it's time to make it easy.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much. Welcome to day number 2. How's everybody feeling today? How was yesterday for everyone? Go ahead and type in the chat. Again, I love the interactions. I'm showing up for you guys, which means I want to make this as extremely valuable for you as possible. And I can do that the more that you give me feedback on that so that I can be sure to bring it. Okay. We got a lot to cover today. And today, if yesterday was theory, this is action. And kind of that's exactly what it was. So we're going to jump right into it, and we're not really going to waste a lot of time. There's not going to be all of this, hey, get to know me a little bit more. We assume that either you showed up yesterday and you saw that and you kind of got familiar with who I am and what our business is, or you've watched the replay. And that's the reason I streamed it live to YouTube yesterday, but not engaging with anybody on YouTube, just so that you can go access that replay really quickly. And I don't have to do anything. Because remember, I said I'm not an expert at Zoom, so I thought I would just stream that live. So it'd be a really quick, easy spot for you to get access to that replay right away as soon as we were done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. And again, I invite everyone who is joining me, if you have the ability to come on camera so I can interact. You know, real estate is really a people business. And I think everybody knows that, but I don't know that everybody understands or has learned yet what that means, practically speaking. And practically, that's, even though we're kind of virtual, right? As far as the virtual world, it's hard to build a relationship with a black square and a name. So I'm going to be, and obviously I'm speaking to Zoom, right? Because we have black squares and names. So I'm going to be on camera the whole time. And again, I still promise to bring the energy, because learning still, of course, does take energy. And, you know, if you guys commit to that too, you're going to get a lot of value out of today. And I'll share my screen right now via the Zoom. So just stand by one moment while I do just that and click the buttons. Shared screen, all participants. What is going on here? Can I share my screen? Does everybody see my screen, or does nobody see my screen? Oh, there we go. Sharing it now. Okay. Desktop 3. There we go. All right. Can everybody see it? Day 2, VA Hiring Masterclass. Again, as we talk about working less and profiting more by hiring right. Operative word there is right. Hiring correctly. All right. So today what we're going to be covering, you know, is we're going to dive into that right quick. And for those of you who are just joining right now, you know, the question I posited was, how many of you got value out of what was shared yesterday? I'd love to see if you did, and share what was it that really stuck out, if anything. I'll tell you, you made the right decision showing up today, because if you got any value from yesterday, today is going to blow yesterday out of the water. We laid the foundation, but now it's time to see the framework of this powerhouse really starting to take shape. And that's exactly what it's going to be for your business. And this is the practical application today of the theory that we covered yesterday. And speaking of which, let's go ahead and just share again, of course, that I put that live out. This is what it looks like. It is under the lives, as you can see here on the channel, Real Estate Investing Made Easy, which you can find on YouTube. And then, you know, so feel free to check out that replay. And welcome back, by the way. I see Bob, I see Shu, Philip. Welcome back, Shu. Thanks for coming on camera. It's nice to see you. I appreciate that. You're also welcome to unmute as well. Again, this is something I want to do to be interactive as well. So don't be shy. It's tough being an island, but I can push through it if I'm just here chilling, talking. All right. So the next thing, a recap. This is going to be a super quick recap. Okay, everybody. So just wanted to tell you that because we're going to dive in and share these topics, and then put the pedal to the metal, what you'll discover is that today truly will build upon what we covered yesterday. So it's time to make it easy. The recap of yesterday is why you should hire a VA. Really, can you afford not to? And I think we really hit it like home run out of the park to show you that if you have a 9 to 5, you're already doing this $400 to make $5,000. And it's actually less than that, because if we're not talking about the contributions and taxes, then that's really what becomes the paradigm shift, that you can hire now if you hire right, because it's going to be putting people in place in your business for revenue generating activities. We're not talking about, and you'll see this as we go through the slides today, because part of what we're going to cover is going to include this. We're not talking about hiring somebody to just do a couple spreadsheets. We're talking about people who you will hire at a lot less expensive than you might even think or can possibly believe, that are going to actually contribute to revenue generating activities in your business. That means they're directly tied to the profitability of your business. And that is why it makes so much financial sense and sensible sense. And that's the paradigm shift that we want to continue to make. We also talked about what's possible for you with just a part-time VA. And obviously that is very scalable, because it wasn't just the fact that you can take $400 a month and you can make $5,000 a month. It's scalable depending on what market you decide to invest in. If we have time today, I'll share some tools specifically that you can very quickly and easily do market research to identify where the investor activity is happening, so that if you're deciding to wholesale, you can jump right in there and get started very quickly. And you're not going to waste time in a market that, as far as a metropolitan statistical area, is very low and doesn't have a lot of investor activity. So that's something that I'd love to be able to get to, time pending. But if anything, we'll talk about it tomorrow, time pending, but for sure we'll dive into it on Saturday. So the biggest problem when hiring too fast without a system. I think we distilled it down yesterday into that kind of main theme. It's we didn't prepare. Today we're going to talk about exactly what to prepare and how to prepare, which is why I'm saying we built on the theory from yesterday. That's what's going on today. So you're not going to want to miss that. Now, what you should outsource first is obviously what we covered, those 4 key roles, but we're going to dive a little bit deeper in that, because there's something that's brand new, hot off the press, that I'm really excited to share with you. And this is the first time we're publicly releasing this information. We have clients that pay us $1,297 every single month to spend 1 hour a week with us on Wednesdays for our mastermind. And this information isn't even in their ears yet. So that is just to say, I'm really excited for those of you who showed up today, because I'm not going to let you down. And in order to accomplish that goal, I'm also going to ask again for your interactions to make sure that we're on track and what I'm covering is valuable for you. That's the only reason I asked that. And then, of course, we talked about where to find the top candidates, and the winners are onlinejobs.ph, upwork.com, and fiverr.com, being onlinejobs.ph is number 1, and some special considerations. And today we are going to dive deep into how to prepare to outsource, what to outsource first, and those 4 key roles. It's a little bit of what we wanted to cover yesterday, but we weren't able to get to. And then we're going to jump right in to how to post job ads that attract quality, email vetting sequences, Calendly question sets. Now, what this is basically, these are appointment scheduling question sets to further vet candidates, and exactly how to create them and set automations up inside of Gmail to do that. And it doesn't have to be Calendly. It can be whatever appointment scheduling platform you like. I'll tell you why I use Calendly before we even get to here, because it's the first one I used. I learned it and I just kept using it because it works. And that's the same thing that I would recommend for you. Everything that I suggest to you is because I use it and it works. But if you have something else that works, use it. As long as you use it and it's actually working for you. It's about taking action. It's not about trying to decide which one's better or worse, because you won't get results, right, in between decisions. So we're going to talk about that. And the candidate evaluation system, I really am hoping we can get to this today, because this is just going to be killer. Because I know for me, when I first got started in real estate investing, and I learned that hiring is the one way to scale my business quickly. Remember, I talked yesterday, I had a passion and a desire to continue in my 9-to-5. I didn't want to leave it because I didn't have a real estate education company. Well, now I do, right? So I'm not working there anymore. I got my own, and that's why we're talking right now. So I was able to automate my business, and my business is automated closing deals right now today, and it's partly due to the candidate evaluation system, the way in which I can quickly and easily vet candidates so that I don't have to worry about, am I making a bad hire? That is the worst mistake you can make. And that is obviously what we unpacked yesterday too, when we came to the conclusion that the reason why people have, Tyler was on and he had mentioned, he had a bad experience with a VA. It's usually due to that. That's a symptom of not having that proper system. And of course, we'll get to questions if time permits. And just remember, this is a journey. It's not teleportation. Love it or hate that phrase. I just kind of came up with it because I thought, man, wouldn't it be great if we could just get to the end run right away? But the truth is, this is a journey. It's not overnight success, we know. And even if you guys watch that, like the video in the beginning where I've said this and I'll say it again, real estate investing is not a get rich quick scheme. It's not a scheme. It can be a get rich, not necessarily quick, although it can be. So let's get started. Keeping in mind, this is a journey. When you stick with me today, my goal for you is so that you will be confident in what's outsourced first, creating those email vetting sequences, setting up your email templates for simple vetting, setting up your autoresponders within Gmail, and setting up the appointment scheduler. As I mentioned, it doesn't matter which one you use. I'm going to show you Calendly. And then draft your question sets for each role is what I would recommend you do, but also that what you will have confidence in by at the end of our time together. So how to prepare and outsource. Let's just dive right into it, okay? Now, unfortunately, most business owners, they don't know this, which is why they have such a bad experience with VAs, and they opt for overpaying for sourcing companies that misalign with their vision, mismanage with a high turnover, and underreport and underperform. And even some that are exposed to it don't do it. They don't do it for a number of reasons that here on day 2, we will have none of, right? Those reasons, because I'm going to lift the veil. What you need to know about interviewing virtual assistants. Standardizing your interview process helps you or your hiring managers or the interviewers, as well as the people that you're actually interviewing and the recruiters, all become in alignment, and helps your team have even comparisons between candidates. When you have a system, it's like comparing apples to apples, just like when you're comping a property. You want to be sure that this 3-bed, 2-bath property with a pool is comped against a 3-bed, 2-bath property that either has a pool or doesn't, and you know and understand how to make adjustments and bracket accordingly as to be an appraiser, right? In the way in which we do this as real estate investors. It's important to ask questions and to be prepared to answer candidate questions. So you have to first, and I would encourage everybody to write this down if you're taking notes, because this is getting right into the meat of it when you're talking about how to prepare to start hiring virtual assistants. First, number 1, know the questions to ask that you don't yet know to ask, and we're going to talk about what those are. 2, you have to have the answers to those questions already. And 3, have the system in place to deliver a stellar candidate experience, putting you in the position to be the employer and the company that employees want to work for long term. And that's what it's all about, because the goal of this is we're going to find stellar candidates using this system, no doubt. Whether it is the way in which we post a job ad and we vet the candidates and what we're going to discuss today, or whether it's we're sourcing. Understand the difference. Sourcing is going out and seeking the talent, looking at resumes on periodicals, those posting platforms like online's jobs.ph or indeed.com or whatever, right? And even LinkedIn, for example. So you're sourcing by going out and seeking talent for, these specialized roles and skill sets, because there's more than one way to do this. And that's partly time permitting is what my wife is going to talk about tomorrow. And if not, you got me, but I hope you are gaining value from the interaction with me anyway. So whether it's me or whether it's my wife, I'm looking forward to diving into that. So all of that said, this includes setting the precedent that you want them to interview you and your company, in addition, obviously, to you interviewing them. So be the company that candidates are excited to interview with. We're going to talk about exactly how to do that. and know that a standardized interview process will lead to better, more qualified hires long term, which of course, those better, more qualified candidates that will stick around long term leads to massive business growth and scale. So, in short, this one phrase on the slide this entire time, raise your standards. That's exactly what we're going to do today. So, practically, how do you raise your standards? By prepping, like specifics. So, ultimately, you want to, this is kind of a snapshot pictographically, which is a word I probably haven't used in like 20 years. Pictographically, this is a representation of those things. And why the heck prepare all of this? It provides you with the system to operate your business like a business, right? And I know a lot of people, when they first get started in real estate investing, they are doing it as a side hustle. That's totally fine. And whether that's wholesaling or whether that's rehabbing, you may find very soon after doing it, even getting into it full time, that it's still not sustainable and you're going to burn out. So no matter where you are in your journey, you will seek to hire. And if, as we've already discussed, so I won't belabor this point, you hire incorrectly without a system, you are going to set yourself up for failure. But with what we're discussing today, and for you guys who showed up, you're not going to have to worry about that. You're going to be taking the right action. My business partner, Chris Steele, always talks about this, and I love the phrase that he uses, so I'll borrow it from him. Taking rocking chair motion and thinking that that's action that's going to lead you somewhere to a point of success to your goals in your business, it's not. It's rocking chair motion. You're getting really busy, right? But you're not getting anywhere. That's not what we're doing. So also too, it communicates that to the candidate, and that is exactly what you want to do. And by that, I mean, it communicates that you are a business who's actually acting like a business. And that's what you need to provide to a stellar candidate. That is a stellar interview, so that they can have a stellar experience and they'll choose you to work with long term. And this is also in alignment with what we're covering today, obviously, and showing you how to create these that are on the screen here. Number one, the job descriptions and posts. That is what you should be creating. So write all of this down, and we're going to show you how to create this stuff today. So don't worry, even this looks like a lot of individual things. These are role-specific job posts that attract those quality candidates that I've been harping on. And number two, automations and templates via email for applicants to quickly vet, to disqualify or qualify them, to know whether or not they're going to be a good fit to even offer an interview to. And then number three, you definitely want to have this prepped already, so that by the time that you are done interviewing them, you can follow up with them quickly and expediently. And that is, and really these aren't necessarily in any particular order. It's sort of around the flow of the interview process. Obviously, you would interview them first, rather than for number three, offering them a job or a disposition letter. So there's no mystery for you as the investor or for your team how to handle this. So just to be clear, the disposition letter is a fancy term that I made up for, I'm sorry you didn't get the job, right? Some people call that a rejection letter. You know, the truth is it's not a fitting term, because I am not rejecting everybody that I hire. I'm not, because I pipeline, quote, rejected candidates. What do you mean by that, Christian? Well, I promised you yesterday I wouldn't refer to myself in the third person, but I just did. So forgive me for that. What I mean is, when you have a stellar candidate and more than one, you want to be able to have verbiage to share with them via email to follow up with the ones that you're not going to move forward with. And then ask them if they would consider, when another position opens up, consider this: a phone sales rep, somebody who's going to be doing cold calling for you. They were killing it in the interview, and their resume is definitely consistent with that. But you only have room for one person to hire. Well, if you wanted to hire both of them, you can't. How are you going to communicate with the one you don't hire? You want to let them know, hey, when I do continue to grow and scale and have another opportunity available, I'd love to invite you to reapply and interview. We'll do a cursory interview if that's something that you're open to, because you didn't get the job and it wasn't because you weren't qualified. It was just because we went with another candidate. That is all. You were awesome and you're a great fit for the role. So I would love to extend this opportunity to you in the future if you would be interested in me doing that, right? And oftentimes, you know, with these preset templates that, of course, I'll teach you exactly how to not only create, but also to actually execute inside of Gmail. I do it in Gmail. I'm sure you could do it somewhere else. So if you're using like Outlook or Yahoo Mail, I'm sure there's automations like this, but I will be teaching you how to do it in Gmail because, again, that's how I do it. And that's just going to provide you with so much clarity and peace, knowing that you have not wasted your time interviewing a candidate who didn't get hired but was a rock star, just didn't have a second position for them. And then, of course, you know, as I said, no particular order, you would, after the interview, send off the offer or disposition letter, but you also want to have, write this down, the interview scheduling question sets. And I mentioned that earlier, right? You need them for both interview 1 and interview 2 in this 2-stage interview. And you can see that represented right here. And it's going to really significantly cut down the time that you would potentially waste interviewing candidates that just aren't qualified, even if they passed the original email vetting sequences. Because again, if you're talking to somebody via email who was an applicant that you were very impressed with their writing skills, but you're hiring them for phone sales and they're not really communicating effectively, you know, whether it's a communication issue or whether it's just they can't get their thoughts out quickly enough to be able to carry out a, you know, ostensibly sort of a sales role there on the phone, qualifying leads or prospects into leads, then they're not going to be a good fit. So you want to ask them specific things that we're going to cover today. Okay, so 5, role-specific interview outlines. Obviously, this is important. And again, it goes back to you putting yourself in the position to be the employer that employees want to work for and stick with long-term. Everybody as an employee, I mean, most of us were employees at one time. I've even worked, my first job was in an elementary school cleaning. I was janitorial services. And I've done everything from milking cows to working on cars. I grew up on a farm, by the way. So that's the reason I was milking cows. Just to be clear, this wasn't like, yeah, I was right behind Home Depot. So the point is, you know, when we're talking about the interviews, every candidate wants to know they're working for a company that is legitimately a company that can benefit them, right? It's just like anything. It's like sales. What's in it for you? So you want to approach the hiring process like marketing and sales. Sell yourself to the candidate. And one of the biggest reasons why you need to sell yourself to the candidate and have this stuff prepared is because you are going to spend a whole heck of a lot less. And you are going to not only spend a whole heck of a lot less, you're also going to put yourself in a position to offer them more bonuses, more raises, more quickly for performance. And that leads us to 6, the salary negotiation plan. That is to fit your predetermined budget for your hire that will perform a revenue generating activity, again, remember, within your business, directly tied to profitability. And then 7, of course, a method and a process and a plan to onboard and manage. So these are the ways to prepare for even hiring. Now, I'm curious, type in the chat box if you're on a phone, which I know some of you are. Shu, I can see that you're on a phone. Terrence, welcome back again to day 2. If you're on a phone, if you're able to type in, is this new information to you? Have you ever heard somebody say, in order to hire a virtual assistant, I recommend you do all of these things, which seems like a lot? Say, yes, this is new to me, or yes, if you feel like this is new. Because I've never heard this before until I started implementing it. Because I realized the failure spot was I'm not holding on to employees. And now we have a 95% employee retention rate. And it's because we were operating like a business. I put myself in the shoes of the candidate, and that's exactly what I recommend for you. So with that, we've talked now about how to prepare to outsource. And I promised you, as we went through what's on the agenda today, we're going to talk about what to outsource first in your REI business. Okay. So with that, I'll just tell you this. I'll go through a few ideas and suggestions, but while this is my humble opinion, it's the advice I give to all of those paying clients that I mentioned, right? That are paying me, over $500 an hour to get coaching from me. So I will give you the same advice. I am not going to sugarcoat it. I will give you exactly the same thing that I would share with anybody regardless. So this is true. Underwriting analysis, it's critical to buying decisions. I don't know how many of you have been investing for a really long time and realize that we make our money when we buy. And when you analyze it, you buy it right, you're going to make money regardless. You could make a lot of mistakes along the way. I know this because I've done it, right? I made a lot of mistakes the first time I ever purchased a property, and I actually bought it right. I was very thankful. Praise the Lord. I made money on it. I didn't lose my shirt. I even had contractors walk off the job site as I was, managing it twice. So I did a lot wrong, right? But when you buy it right, you make your money, which is why you want to outsource this last. Scale that position last. So while I said I'm making suggestions, I urge you to scale that last. And that is to say, here's a summary of everything from data to deal. I'll give you a second to read that. I'll highlight a few things, but what you want to do, and it can be on this list, but determine from this list some of the things, knowing that all of this is involved in your real estate investing business, some of those things that you can outsource. Now, we already know that we've talked about the analyzing property leads right here. We want to save to do last, to outsource last. But that doesn't mean that you can't have somebody take a cursory look, right? When somebody is in the stage for executing marketing campaigns and then they are, managing and nurturing leads over here, right? As you can see, they're still going to be doing cursory analysis. For example, when you are marketing to a prospect, many of you may know this already, but for those of you who don't, if a prospect says, yes, I definitely want to sell my house, I'm super motivated, I'm excited to sell it, I want to sell it yesterday, and we talk about price and we talk about their expectations as the ISA or on the phone as a cold caller, and they say, yeah, I'd love to get $500,000 for my property. Objectively speaking, we have no idea whether or not that's a good price. But if we look on Zillow and then we see that their property is only worth $50,000, well, you need to do a little bit of analysis to determine whether or not that's actually a deal, because that's not a deal. I don't think anybody would think that was a deal. So there is some measure of analysis that's going to be performed in that regard. So what we'll do now is move on to share with you my suggestions. Consider outsourcing these tasks first. Executing marketing campaigns, setting appointments and follow-up, managing new and nurturing old leads, and then there's the follow-up. Now, I put on here new data and repeat as well. The truth is, you might want to consider doing the data first, because I speak about this a lot when it comes to data. It's so important if you're doing off-market, right? The properties that are not listed on the MLS, off-market lead generation. Your list that you pull is going to dictate the level of motivation, the response rate to a certain extent. And that is to say that if you pull a list of properties that were purchased in the last 6 months, that were never listed, that have zero equity, and as the data tells you that these people are ostensibly anywhere from 25 to 30, maybe they have kids, they're probably not going to sell their property. That's a terrible list. You shouldn't go after that. There's no level of motivation there. So you definitely want to control that motivation when you're pulling lists and stuff. And that's another topic for another day. We certainly have a lot of information about that on our YouTube channel. that, after this masterclass, I encourage you to check out because it's going to add a lot of value to your business processes. Now, I'll tell you the question itself, right? Which of the above are more minimum wage activities that require less specialized real estate knowledge and skill is the question that you should be asking regardless of what you're looking to outsource, whether you take my suggestions in particular. And the truth is many business owners incorrectly diagnose their own business needs and they hire an acquisitions person first so that they can focus on marketing. But that's backwards, in my humble opinion. Proper opportunity analysis is absolutely critical to business success and growth and to the scale of your real estate investing business. And it's because your analysis dictates those buying decisions. And of course, we all know that determines the profitability and scale of your business because you make money when you buy. And for some, it will determine how long they can actually keep the doors open. So that is something that for sure is backwards. That's the reason why it is, especially when it comes to commission checks for acquisitions people. So if you're thinking about, well, I need more people on staff to qualify these leads at a high level, I'm not talking about lead management. I'm talking about really making these strategic decisions, analyzing the property, and doing everything that I recommended not to outsource first. So depending on where you're at in your journey for business growth, outsourcing acquisitions might not be the answer, especially because it comes at a steep cost of profit splits and commission checks. It takes money out of your pocket and actually counterintuitively stifles business scale. So this is something I speak more about in the publication that I referred everyone to yesterday. And the short answer as to what hires to make, I only briefly touched on yesterday. So I'll just tell you right now. We mentioned the 4 key positions. And while that's true, I mentioned earlier too, as a hint, this is hot off the presses. It's time for an upgrade, okay? And now we're looking at the 5 key positions: the executive assistant, the phone sales rep, the SMS sales rep, the outreach specialist, which I'll talk a little bit about, and the lead manager. And this is what it looks like, okay? This is, like I said, the very first time releasing this. And it's because we're crushing it doing this. We're absolutely crushing it. And it looks like this. Here's the inside baseball. We are operating our own business, and we're teaching and training those to operate their own business as far as the marketing side is concerned with this triangle. And this is another pictorial representation of that. You got your off market, you have your on market, and then you have your expired listings. So you have everybody in between. As long as your off market properties that you're targeting are motivated seller lead lists ostensibly, and that you're not targeting people who have no motivation to sell at all, then that is absolutely a strategy to continue to implement in your business. And on the other side, the on-market opportunities, I've in the past had a lot of doubts about whether or not I personally should be targeting on-market opportunities. And then I realized at a later point, probably too late, I wish I had come to this conclusion earlier, that on-market opportunities, they're the lowest hanging fruit. And while they might have more competition, the more you pour into your education and practice and get better and grow and scale your business and have more confidence in your approach as a real estate investor and the solutions that you can provide, on-market opportunities are a space you can crush it in. Absolutely crush it. And then for those people who ostensibly rejected your cash offer and said, I'm going to list it with my agent and I'm not going to take your cash offer, expired listings. Their realtor, quote unquote, failed them, right? Has anybody ever done a direct mail campaign to expired listings and they did a realtor failed you campaign? I have done that, and it's a great campaign. Now there's a couple tools, and if we have time again, I'll get to those tools to make this process easier. But as it pertains to the hires who are going to be working within your business, I wanted to share this kind of graph with you and why I suggest these are the people you should hire. And this should give you a better picture of how these 5 key roles fit into this system. So please write this down, okay? Stay on this slide for a little bit so that you can. Now, the executive assistant, their job, and by the way, I realize that the executive assistant might just be you in the beginning, and that's okay. It was for me too. But no, just as these roles might not be something you're ready to fill in your business, other than the lead manager, the SMS and the phone sales and the outreach specialist, one of them, but maybe not all of them. In the same way, you might not be ready to fill that role. It's parallel to, you have all of the departments in your business, whether you knew it or not, that you're either giving attention to or you're not. So that is to say, your accounting department, your payroll department, your rehab department, even if you're just wholesaling. Wholesaling is a tool in a tool belt. As Chris, my business partner, would say, it's a golf club in your bag. And that's when you're going golfing, you're not always going to use a putter. You're not always going to use a driver or a chipper. It depends on the deal in this case when it comes to what exit strategy you'll use, and wholesaling is just one of them. So you'll need a rehab department, at least if their only job and their only function is to analyze the level of repair so that they can put together, and you can put together, a proper picture of a deal. That is the repair analysis. How much is this likely going to cost to fix, so that you can appropriately communicate that to a rehab buyer in your list. So in the same way, your executive assistant is going to be in your business, whether it's just you or not, although I recommend you scale as quickly as possible. And they're going to conduct all of the following. So they're going to source and vet all the candidates. They're going to actually conduct the initial interview of the 2-stage interview process. And then how this works is, your SMS sales rep will be ostensibly targeting expired listings, but I actually have an employee that works 365 every single day of the year, 24/7, 365. And I don't pay her a dime. And that's because she's AI. Okay. And we named her Mia. So that's exciting stuff. That's something that for those of you who are joining me on day 4 on Saturday, we're going to talk about too. But the SMS sales rep is also going to be on the off market. Now, I will share the tools we use. So it's either going to be Launch Control or Smarter Contact. If you have questions about that, ask me, because I have questions about that, and I've done the research and I figured out a few things. So I would direct you to what makes sense for your business, but that's going to come with a debrief. And then the phone sales reps, of course, they're going to be cold calling. So all of these really, but mostly it's going to be the off-market opportunities, right? And they can also call the expired listings as well, but that's how I've represented it here. And the outreach specialist is really just going to be connecting with agents, mostly. And those are the on-market opportunities. And then, of course, all of this funnels into the lead manager. So your lead manager will be the next touch point for every lead generated using these marketing methods to further qualify them as leads. So that's the way that, as it pertains to who you're hiring, what our system looks like when it comes to our marketing machine, which again, I've touched on this in the publication that I referred you guys to. You can go to reime.us to check that out and download it. Not right now, but later, if you haven't done so already. Does anybody have any questions yet before we get into the job posts that attract quality candidates? We have one more little bit to go through about this, and then we're going to get into the job posts in particular. Anybody? If you were wondering what kind of hair gel I use, it's called Lay Right, just so you know. So that's a little tip for you, when you're on a Zoom or a seller appointment, there's a couple different levels. So I know that you had a burning desire for that question. So I just wanted to ask it, right? Address the elephant in the room. All right. So moving on, what to prepare before you outsource. So effectively, this is what it looks like. From what we showed in the representation of those pictures and everything, which actually these are the systems we use. These are actual PDFs. These aren't, I didn't make them up just for this. So you take everything and you teach and train your executive assistant to take this whole process over. That's why having everything prepared ahead of time will make this process seamless, and it makes the system what it is. The system has us boast of a 95% employee retention rate, and a system where every week we're closing multiple deals, but I'm not touching any of them. None of them. I see none of it, and we in my business, my real estate investing business, we are closing deals every single week. So I don't say that to impress you, by the way. I just say that to impress upon you the importance of leveraging a system that's proven and that works. So now that you know which roles to hire a virtual assistant for and what to prepare right now, it's time to make that happen on the next slide. So job posts that attract quality candidates, starting with this. I wanted to share, and I mentioned this briefly in passing, that recruitment is marketing. If you're a recruiter nowadays, or you're a business owner looking to hire somebody, and you don't see yourself in that role with that hat on as a marketer, you're in the wrong profession or you're doing it wrong. So that is Matthew Jeffrey, Global Head of Sourcing, SAP. Do I know what that is? No, I don't, but I do believe what he says, and I know it to be true. And that's why we're going through this, so that you can be exposed to the things that work, not because I'm awesome, not because I know everything, but because I'm a case study of the system that I've built and refined. And originally it was somebody else who gave me a little piece here, a little piece there, and I put the puzzle pieces together and said, I think we can improve this so that we can make all of our lives easier. And when we share this with other investors, make their lives easier so we can benefit the growth and scale of all of our businesses. So you got to think of your job post as a piece of marketing. And when you do, you'll be able to write a compelling job post that attracts the right candidates, the right people to apply. Now, I would recommend you take notes, as I've said, and that's so that you can be confident in a couple things. Writing a compelling job post, and better than ChatGPT alone, trust me, ChatGPT is not going to write as good of a job post as you will be able to write after our time together today. And you could put that theory to the test too, actually. We already have. So you also want to be confident in defining the vision for the role and your unique value proposition and determining what you expect. Now, understand that yesterday when we talked about your why and I was asking you guys to share your why and all that stuff, there was a reason for it. And this is it. Because if you can't communicate your why to me, then you can't communicate your why to somebody who is looking for a full-time role to stick with the company and grow with the company long-term. So none of this stuff was by accident or, gambits in a presentation. It's legitimately something that you absolutely need to be crystal clear about. So while I've spoken from stage, and I guess you could call me a professional speaker, although I wouldn't, some would, maybe that's you, maybe it's not. This is stuff that you actually need to get clear on for the purpose of enrolling other people in your business. You are selling the belief that you are a company that will be around for a long time, so that those employees will have confidence and trust, and you will be able to build a good relationship with them, and your business will thrive as a result of it. So all that said, just to write this home, writing a compelling job post is more than just being clear about the role. The vision for the role, you got to ask yourself, are you looking to expand this role into a team? And related to the job post, I'll get into it because I'm actually going to show you our job posts, or at least one of them, and go through a couple examples and highlight these things in it so that you can copy and paste it and write it down and take these notes. But you got to know, if it's an executive assistant, you're probably not going to be looking for another role. You're hiring one person. So be clear about that. And that's not just to say that in your job post, you're going to put, I'm only hiring one person for this role, right? If you're hiring more than one person, you're not just going to say, I'm hiring 2 or 3 people for this role. You want to add on to that, because we're talking about vision, not just a stated number. And I'll give you an example. So if you're going to post a job for a cold caller, and you're planning on scaling that team to maybe 2 or 3 of them, and again, you never want to put yourself in a position to be a perpetual manager. Begin with the manager as your first hire. And that's not to say that you're actually going to tell them that. That's just to say, with this system, you'll be able to identify the top quality candidate who has the potential to be a manager, and you'll be able to hire them and afford them. And then you'll be able to scale them into that role, so that by the time you hire your second person, You don't have to worry about managing them, and it's so much more hands-off. So at the end of the day, what I'm saying here is inside your job post while you're writing it, you want to tell them that and sell the growth, the opportunity for growth. This is a long-term, we're hiring more people for this role than just one. So as it stands, this is a long-term position with massive growth opportunity and potential into management. We're actively seeking to scale this team and provide the right candidate and candidates with future value long term. And, I just kind of shared that off the cuff, but I'll get into exactly what I said in the job posts. And you want to know, of course, where will there be management opportunity? Now, your value proposition. Understand that when I mentioned earlier that you want to put yourself in a position to be an employer that, candidates want to work with long term, that is, you're encouraging them to interview you, right? And in a way to do that so that they're even compelled to work with you is your vision, not just for the role, but for your company. So of course you want to share that vision for the role. And, if there is other lateral opportunities, and what I mean by lateral opportunities are if you're hiring somebody for a cold caller position, but they have a goal to be a lead manager, but they don't have a goal to be, a manager of a cold call team, then you want to be clear about that up front, even in the job post. So I mentioned, sure, maybe you're hiring 3 cold callers and you have in the post an opportunity for them to grow. You want to be clear about all of this stuff in the beginning so that you can write this compelling job post and also state, if this is you and your business, management opportunities are available. And in addition, lead management for lateral moves within our growing company poised for aggressive growth this year are also available, right? So lead management positions as well. So our lead manager actually started off as one of our lead managers in our business, not our clients, right? When we do this for other clients, we're talking about Lazarus Property Group. She started off as a SMS sales rep, and then she wanted to get on the phone. So then she started getting on the phone. And then she wanted to become a lead manager. So she made a lateral move, and then, she got promoted. She's been with us for years. So you want to communicate all that stuff and have the vision for your company. And I understand if some of you are just doing this on the side right now, and all of this stuff just seems like, man, I don't know. I mean, I know I want it to be my full-time thing at some point in the future. This is how you make that a reality faster. So if this is the first time you're hearing all of this, this is what you need to put ink to paper on to create that vision. And going back to yesterday, create your why. Let's chart the path on the map so that you can always have the goal in front of, in your vision, in your purview. I've got a whiteboard right there. It's got a bunch of goals on it right now for me. I would recommend the same thing for you. And I don't know any successful business owner who doesn't have that. That's not to say that it's impossible. I just don't know anybody in, my interactions who didn't write their goals down and visit them on a daily basis. It's just like prayer. I mentioned that one of my whys is sharing the gospel, and I'm a Christian. So I have this handbook that's praying through scripture, right? So I want to focus, and I have it in front of me every day. Like some people do meditation in the morning. I spend time in prayer. So I want to make sure that I do that and I focus myself. Goals help you focus that, and everybody probably knows that already, but just keep them in front of you. And it will also, it will also help you write a compelling job ad because you're always thinking about that goal and scale of your business, no matter what the role is. So also, you want to know, just like we talked about yesterday, and again, we laid the foundation. Do you offer any benefits? You got to know that to write your job post, which of course is the reason why we exposed you to some of those benefits that you can offer, namely those employees in the Philippines. So again, we're building the framework right now on the foundation. Take what we learned yesterday, and if you haven't seen that, you're watching this for the first time, watch the replay and then revisit this so that keep that in mind and decide for yourself what you can budget for, what makes sense. Again, you have that philhealth. I think it's gov, sss.ph.gov, where you can see as you hire Filipino VAs what you can expect to pay. as those Phil Health and SSS and what the 13th month looks like. It's just an extra month of pay so that you can budget and you won't exceed your budget. Remember, I said a little bit earlier, I said you got to keep your budget with the salary negotiation guide on the previous slide in mind. Now, determine what to expect next. Now, most who hire don't know what to expect because they haven't thought through what we cover in this training. And it ends up with unmet, unspoken expectations, and then the finger pointing and the blame game starts. So you need to set forth the expectations for that role. And again, I would also recommend you share expectations that they should have of you, right? And really that's what you're doing when you're sharing your vision. That's what you're doing when you're sharing the opportunity that exists for long-term growth within your company while you're writing the job post. So I hope so far what we've covered are you got light bulbs going off and you're seeing creating job ads, which can be on the surface. This is not something that gets a lot of attention. So I have to pause to say congratulations to every single one of you who showed up for day 2. Everybody who showed up for this actual VA Hiring Masterclass in general, because this is not a topic that's super sexy. People don't make a lot of money in the space of like, hey, let's talk about hiring VAs and a cool way to do that. They don't think this through, and that is unfortunate. So I want to make sure that you guys are equipped. So we're going to move on. Now, when we talk about writing the compelling job post, if you haven't already, write this down because, of course, we're going to craft it for these, right? Crafting job ads that attract the right candidates. This assumes that you've identified who to hire. So we want to be sure. My recommendation for you and what we're going to go through are these roles. So it's focusing on business scale, beginning with the executive assistant, and then these other 4 roles. And we're going to actually get into the job ads here in just a second. But before putting ink to paper, just understand a few more points is to determine the responsibilities, as you know, the pay rate, as we talked about, and not only that, time. So think of this. It changes on levels of experience, which usually is tied directly to pay. So consider how long it takes you to do that particular role. So when it comes to understanding how much to pay them, it's not just about their resume and their experience. When we get into day 3 tomorrow and we start talking about how to evaluate candidates and how to conduct the actual interview, we will be sharing the strategies that my team uses to actually put them through, for example, a phone sales rep, somebody who's a cold caller, put them through a mock call and evaluate them. We start off, and this isn't giving too much away because it's a big day tomorrow with a lot to cover. But as a quick example, just to bring this to light so you understand what I'm saying, is we in the beginning will say, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate your ability? 1 being, I don't know what a cold caller is, and 10 being, I'm the best in the world and there's no room for improvement. This is before the mock call or the role play. And then after, we ask them the same thing. And I've never been in a position in an interview after interviewing hundreds and hundreds. I mean, it's got to be over 1,000 people who said anything that was the same. It was always different and it was always less. And here's the reason why. Because you want to be super, super clear about you. And if it's not you who knows this role really well, if you have a partner that does, what that job entails and how to do it right and how long it takes. And in this case, for cold calling, right, it's identifying the 4 pillars. As you know, you'll find, if you don't already know this, a lot of VAs will say, when you ask them, what do you look for when you're on the phone? Well, I look for the 4 pillars, you know, the expectation, time frame, motivation, condition. Okay, well, what about creative financing opportunities? If you guys are into creative deals because you want to get more opportunities out of the leads that otherwise wouldn't be leads, your cold caller should know that, right? So we take them through that because we'll find, you know, our business name is Lazarus Property Group. Lazarus is in the Bible where Jesus raised him from the dead. So Lazarus Property Group is let's resurrect dead deals. Let's resurrect properties. So a lot of times that means being creative. And I think I mentioned this yesterday. It might have been this last weekend when we were speaking about creative business from stage. And that is, we got a $47,000 it wasn't a wholesale fee, but that was an upfront payment for a property that was absolutely dead in the water. And then we're cash flowing over the course of a note we put on it, 30 years, $175,000. Now that wouldn't have been possible without creative financing. And that lead came from this system that I'm sharing with you right now. The people we put in place, hiring them this way, this is at the beginning of it. So that's the reason I share that with you, because doing it this way will provide those types of opportunities, getting high quality individuals. For the cold caller that I'm referencing right now as an example, this has been a scenario before. I'm not speaking to somebody in particular, but when you have those types of conversations and you know the role and you know what you expect and where you're going in your business, you can help negotiate the salary, because maybe they're at a 7 or an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. But after you introduce this new stuff and you teach them, and you teach these individuals, these candidates, they're going to look at it and have their eyes open to, wow, there's a whole new possibility of ways in which to level up my game. And I'm not there. I'm not at the level you guys are at, right? And if you're saying, hey, that's not me, I'm just getting started in this, stay tuned to our channel, because we teach all this stuff. We don't pull any stops. We give all of the information away for free. I think that I mentioned to you that I was involved in a real estate education company for over a decade. I helped create the curriculum for that. People spent $50,000 to $75,000. I was the instructional designer, did the curriculum. I was coaching and training. So I'm taking all of that and putting it on YouTube to distill it down for the action takers. Now, all of that said, when we talk about defining the benchmarks for raises, I think that's pretty obvious. And that is to say that you've already thought through the scale of this role and where you're going to be taking the direction of your company. So if there's, a cap to that particular role, you want to let them know that ahead of time in the job ad. And that's why, of course, we're still talking about the job ad. And again, one last thing before I actually jump in and show you and screen share is you want to be prepared to share what sets you apart from other companies. And again, that's your unique value proposition, but more in particular, they're going to be interviewing you too, right? The confidence that you have in your processes and SOPs and training will transfer to the job ad. So in order to prepare to share and even putting that job ad out, you want to have an SOP for that role. Okay. So share more about your company and links to research your organization inside the job ad. Have those SOPs in the background, and there's just a pictorial representation of that. You see me in a video there, determine the following, answer these questions. So you want those trainings, because not only will it be easier for you and give you more confidence in the interview process and the hiring process, but it's going to make your whole life a lot easier when you actually get them onboarded, because you're not going to have to spend the time training them. This is especially true when it comes to your EA, because your EA is your executive assistant who's going to facilitate this stuff. But long term, just getting started, your EA is not going to 10 years from now be doing the same stuff. You're going to hire somebody in HR. You're going to hire somebody who is specifically schooled for that type of activity. We're talking about small business entrepreneurialism here, okay? To grow it to a place where it's not a small business anymore, and you've always been a legitimate business, but you are a bigger business that has now scaled yourself out of, you name it, whatever you want to do. And this is the path to get there. So having those SOPs in place before you get started are paramount. And doing that, creating these, I want to give you a little tip. I want to make this as easy as possible. Investortools.us. You got to type it in there as you see it with the capitals and the hyphens, okay? Free screen recorder. So take a second to check that out. It is a free screen recorder. You may have heard of something called Loom. This basically, the free version of this is what the paid version of Loom is. You can record your screen and talk, and you can record yourself for an unlimited amount of time. So you'll be able to actually, create SOPs and just walk somebody through the process of analyzing a deal or whatever it is that you're hiring for. So by creating those SOPs, you're not only going to make training and managing your new hire simple, but the act of creating it will help inform you of what the role entails to then transfer that to the job ad. So that's why I recommend that. So you can use that tool for easy. But let's dive into an example of the job that we've posted, and I'll identify these key points. All right, so just a moment. Let me quickly transition here. Give me a sec. We're going to share the screen. We're going to dive straight away into my job ads that I've already posted, but I gotta just take a second. All right, here we go. Can you guys see the screen at all? Or did the screen just shut off on you? I think it shut off. All right, here we go. Screen number 3. How are we doing on time, by the way? 9 o'clock, we've got an hour left. We're going to crunch through this stuff, everyone. Is this good stuff? Yes or yes? I haven't heard anything. It's been crickets in the chat box, and I'd really love some feedback. You know, I can be an island for so long, but the waves start to come up and beat on the shore, and I don't know where anything is, a deserted island here, and I don't want to be on an island. I'm with you guys. So let me know if this is valuable, and if you want to learn this stuff. All right, so here's my inbox, which is not what I wanted to show you. All right, here we go. This is an example of a job post, and you saw some of these. Like I said, these are actual PDFs. So this is the job description for the lead manager, and this is the way that I've done it. So these are, this is obviously something that, you know, I provide. So company name, this would be your company name. And this is really us, right? So I just posted in right here on onlinejobs.ph. Let's look at an acquisition specialist role, because that's the first one. REI Made Easy is a real estate investing business that is redefining the future of the industry. So I'd love to, thank you so much for that. Yes. All right. Awesome. Glad you're getting some value from this. So we're redefining the future of this industry. I mean, you know, I'm not a poet. I'm not a published award-winning author, and maybe you're not either. And if you are, talk to me, because, you know, I do have a book and everything that I'm writing, but this is like, okay, right? Redefining the future of the industry. Is this actually your goal? Well, yeah, that's my goal, which is why I mentioned to you for REI Made Easy, right? Lazarus Property Group is the investing company. This job was specifically posted for REI Made Easy Inc., which is real estate investing made easy. So we are trying to do that. That is our goal. So we're putting our goals and our intentions in the job post itself. And we are on a mission to shape real estate investing across the United States with motivated seller lead generation. We are becoming the one-stop shop for companies looking to generate motivated seller leads on autopilot to scale their real estate investing businesses, because we're growing so fast, we're looking to hire for the acquisitions specialist position. Okay, so there's a lot in there, but how many of you can see the points that I just covered translated into this job post? There's the vision for the company. There's the who we are and what we represent. There's some hype. It's not just hype, but right, there's hype like, yo, we are revolutionizing this. Like it's almost like a movie trailer. Gets you excited. And then when we talk about what we have not yet covered, which is going to be completely flipping the job post stuff on its head, are some things that I could only show you inside the job post, which is why we've arrived here. Please read this entire job post all the way through. You should be including, now please write this down. You should be including very specific instructions and hoops for people to jump through in the way in which you've asked them to apply, so that as a form of vetting, you will not be wasting time with people who didn't actually follow the directions. Please read this entire job posting. And it will happen. And I will share with you exactly what I'm saying here right now. So down here, I say exactly how to apply. And I say compose a separate email to this email right here, and make sure this email comes from your own email account. Make the subject line of that email exactly, I am your acquisition specialist. Okay. Now, I promised I would share exactly what I'm talking about. People will look. I do not look at this, by the way. And then what was one? Here we go. This was for a video editor. Which one was it? Right here. The video editor, experienced video editor. And then he applied incorrectly. And then I believe in here he said, after reading the job description and requirements, hey, this isn't to say that Mr. Bruce is not actually everything that he says he is in here at all. There's a strong possibility that he could be one of the best candidates, but there's also a strong possibility that if he doesn't follow instructions, he's not. So my point in showing you this is, tell me, yes or no. Did he read the job post? Because I promise you, the one for the video editor, that said specifically, please apply in this way in your own email account, not on onlinejobs.ph, and send an email directly to that email address provided and make the title exactly what I'm asking you to make it, please. So he didn't do it. And you'll get, if you're using onlinejobs.ph, which of course I recommend you do, and you follow the same system, you'll get the same result as well. You'll get people who apply incorrectly. And I don't at all look at this inbox. Frankly, the only reason why these were already unchecked as read is because I shared this with somebody else and I let them know. So I knew that this gentleman, who probably is really a good video editor, had applied incorrectly. And again, I don't want to dox anybody. I'm not trying to call anybody out. Again, he might be awesome, but he's not the right fit for my company. I'd recommend the same thing for you, that if you have somebody who's applying incorrectly and not following instructions, especially in just this cursory job application, then they're not going to be very attentive or communicative or follow directions inside of your business. And this is your business. This is your life. Again, think back to your why. If you don't do this in the way that is systematized, whether you follow exactly the system or not, which of course I recommend that you do, you're going to experience the negative side to hiring virtual assistants, which there definitely is. And that's why we want to do it the right way. So back to the job post, there is more, right? And the hoops for them to jump through, that was just one of them. But again, as we talked about what we're identifying, right? The job summary, they'll be responsible. We wanted to be very clear. I'm not going to read this whole thing unless you guys tell me in the chat that you want me to read the whole thing. Other than that, I'm just going to kind of cruise through it, especially with the interest of time. You want to list those duties and responsibilities. I always love the but are not limited to. And one of the reasons why I do that, and I'll bring it up in the interview many times, is to let them know, hey, if you have any other aptitudes, if there's anything else that you enjoy, let me know. And not only in the interview, but in the email vetting sequences that we're going to talk about, in the Calendly appointment scheduling question sets. All of these titles are a mouthful. Whatever they are, they work, right? The appointment scheduling question sets, which I'm going to show you today as well. I'll ask questions about what they desire to do with their future growth in a company, if this is what they want to do long term. So I want them, as I read their resume and as I talk to them and they answer those questions, to share what they love doing, because I want to be able to put them in a position to where when they show up to work, they're doing something that they love. Because how many of you believe and have said this before, if you do what you love for work, you'll never work a day in your life. That's what I want from my employees. I want them to show up to work and love what they do in an environment that I've created a culture for, to where they can feel free to be themselves, right? And we have people from all different ethnic backgrounds, religions, races, creeds, but we all agree on one thing. And that is, we want to enjoy showing up to work, and we want to have an allegiance to the company, whether it's Real Estate Investing Made Easy or Lazarus Property Group. And we believe in the vision of the company that we share and we speak about often. because we let them in on what's happening in our business. How many clients do we have? Some, we don't really share revenue and stuff like that, but we talk about like, hey, we closed this deal, we closed that deal, and you're the reason. You, Mr. Phone Sales Rep, Mrs. Phone Sales Rep, you're the reason, and we love to give them bonuses just out of the blue as often as we can, because they're directly tied to revenue generating activities. And of course, we put qualifications in here. This is all for your own tolerance, right? Excuse me. You don't have to have the same qualifications in your job description as we have. But again, that's why you want to take and evaluate your business, where you are, where you want to go. And that will inform you of who, in terms of their qualifications, you want to have in your business in general, but also obviously the role itself. And a lot of that is already, in this. For the job descriptions and the posts, it includes, the duties and responsibilities, what they need to do, what makes a really good employee, right? And more to that point, the schedule is important. Obviously, we don't need to spend too much time on this, but you want to make sure they're going to show up. We talked about that yesterday too. And then the benefits, I've included them in here, what we provide. So be clear on if you're going to provide that or not. The salary. Now there's two sides to this coin when we talk about salary. You could put this skills based off of skills and qualifications, but remember, and I believe it was yesterday when I shared a link to a salary guide, not the salary negotiation guide, the salary guide for roles specifically as it pertains to the Philippines, what the normal pay rates are on a scale of beginner to experienced. And if you didn't see that, what I'll do later is I'll link it here in the description below, as this is a live stream for your replay pleasure, and then you can find it there. And I won't waste time to go get it right now, but you can also watch that replay from yesterday and find it there. So it's important to know whether or not you are going to put just based off experience, or if you're going to put the range. Personally, I like to not put a specific number in there, because I want them to apply with what they desire, with what they need, and then go from there. And what I'll do to quickly vet is if I know the role, the cap is $10 an hour, and they want $16 an hour, I'm not even going to bother. Like, if I've already budgeted for $9 an hour, right? Because that's very nearly twice the amount. So you want to know that up front, and it's your choice whether or not you want to put that in there, or if you want to put based on experience. So of course, we described the next steps. I hope you read the entire job posting. Only qualified candidates will be considered, and I definitely would encourage you to use this same type of verbiage, right here. Please note, if you do not follow these simple instructions, your application will be rejected and you will not be considered for employment with our company. Excited to get your resume and look forward to potentially offering you an interview and meeting with you soon. This is a part-time long-term position. So this particular one is a part-time long-term position with full-time opportunity. Of course, if it is a full-time opportunity, remember I talked to you about the outreach specialist? That's the acquisition specialist. Part-time, $400 a month, $5,000 revenue generated for one deal, assuming a $5,000 wholesale for $400 a month. And of course, that's scalable. That's scalable depending on, what your average profit is per wholesale and this and that. So that's the job ad for this. Anyway, so what I would like to do, and I hope that y'all stick with me here, I got to take a quick bathroom break, because we've been going, and put your questions in here, because before we get into the email vetting sequences, which we're going to get into right now, because that's the next stage. After they spell out exactly the title from their own email, how do you make that process automated? How do you actually automate it to where they're followed up with without you touching it, and they're vetted without you touching it, and you'll know those people who are qualified candidates? So the only track that I have is this 15-minute countdown. It will not take 15 minutes. I'll be back really quickly, okay? And I'm going to fill up with a little bit more coffee, and we'll see you back here in just a couple minutes. Stick with me in the meantime while I'm gone. Please do, if you have any questions, type them in the chat box below. I will do my best to stick around for as long as it adds value to you in your business at the end to answer questions. But for now, I'm going to hit the head right quick and I will be right back. So I'll see you in just a second.
We're going to discuss 3 creative ways that you can invest in real estate with little or no money out of your pocket. We're going to be diving deep into wholesaling, how to do it right, how to be smart, all about this investment strategy. In this video, I'm going to put myself out of business by answering the questions: how can I be super targeted with my marketing while at the same time cast a really wide net? Hey, stop what you were doing. The best way in which to leverage YouTube ads for your real estate investment business is to be an authority in the market that you're in as just content that is for free. And in the forecast, it's raining money. Now I gotta pick all that up. Why would I ever pay for data?
We're going to talk to you about getting started as a newer real estate investor. What are some of the drawbacks and roadblocks and challenges that you might run into, common pitfalls?
Every once in a while, I have a good idea.
Moments of clarity is what I thought. So I was like, man, you're really smart. Yeah, and I just have moments of clarity.
So whether you're brand new to real estate or like many of our done-for-you marketing clients, you've been doing this for years, you'll be armed with the how-to to close more deals and scale your business right now, not later, because the name of the game is speed to lead. Rapid fire, as quickly as you can tap the mouse button. So the more reps you get in, the more confidence you'll have, and that confidence will help you close more deals. There's a lot of different creative strategies that you can do to really help you get a leg up over your competition when you're out there making offers and lock up better deals. If you make your team members and your employees feel more like than anybody else, by definition, they will make the customers and the clients and the sellers and the people that you're working with and you're trying to help solve their problems, they will make them feel like they are the most important people in the world. Good to meet you in per Zoom.
You were waiting to make that joke.
I'm working on my dad jokes. My dad shirt, the roast beef, the cow sitting in the sun, and, you know, working on dad jokes.
Chris closes your deals.
Word, and I'm an MC. C in the sea with the little fishies. So it's time to make it easy.
We are going through this series so that you can see exactly what we're doing to get deals, so that you can emulate that and get deals for yourself. You got to manage your own expectations for success. It's not always easy. It's not always going to be quick. Just stay in it, buddy. You're going to get there. Nobody is going to be pushing. You don't have a manager. You are the boss. So you have to know that you're going to have to take initiative. You guys want to start getting deals? What are you waiting for?
So let's just start with the basics.
If you're looking to improve your lead management, let's connect.
We are going through the wholesaling case study so that you can see exactly what we're doing to get deals.
Real estate investing is not a get-rich-quick scheme.
It's definitely not a get-rich-quick scheme. It can be just a get-rich.
Yes.
Not a quick, not a scheme. There are telltale signs of a property that might be in distress.
Telltale signs or telltale?
So there are telltale signs when the grass is so tall. It tells you that there might be something going on when every other property in the neighborhood is in great shape. You know what it's called?
What's that?
That's called a pro tip. When it comes to what marketing you should deploy, it usually is dependent on 2 factors: time versus money. Nationally, investors are working with us to fulfill their marketing. So nationally, like it's the difference between nuclear and nuclear. I know which one's correct. So if you don't have a lot of this, we're also going to share with you how you can benefit them so that these relationships can truly add value to everybody involved. Real estate, as far as markets are concerned, it's all local. It's all local.
100%.
All right, let's real estate has so many different niches, frankly, niches that even as a seasoned investor, I'm not that familiar with.
For the majority of real estate investors across this country, it's really just a way to provide a good living for their families and live a decent life.
If you're just starting out and you don't have a lot of connections, get out there and get involved in other communities. Start outreach to your buyers, having those conversations with either the buyers themselves or the agents that were on those transactions.
This stuff is groundbreaking, and it absolutely should be integrated into every investor's business everywhere.
If you're considering getting into real estate investments and you say, man, I want to do this, just understand why. If you want to be a successful business owner, regardless of what niche you're in.
All right, and I'm back, everybody. So thank you for that reprieve there. Got my coffee, got some water, ready to dive in. Don't see any questions that have come through, so I will assume that I'll just assume that I'm doing a really good job, and nobody has any questions at all. And you had them, but I answered them as we were going along. So I'm going to share my screen. I think I'm actually already sharing my screen. I never know. Nope, I'm not. Hold on, let me share my screen here once more. Okay. Here we go. Email vetting sequences. What the heck are these? All right, so the email vetting sequences, we're going to dive again into the actual Gmail account. I mentioned that I do this via Gmail, and I'm sure it's applicable to Outlook or Yahoo or any other server that you're using for mail. But I happen to use Gmail. Principles will still apply. There's one thing I wanted to share. If you have a flood of applicants, this is how you can actually manage it. And that's really the point to all of this, because I don't know if I shared with you this yet, but if you look into the job posts here, there are 1,069, there's 286, and although you see these applicants are 14, that's how many people applied incorrectly. So more people applied correctly than did incorrectly. And although not all of the 1,069 people did apply, there were a whole heck of a lot more than 200 for that particular role. And if you're in a position where you're working a 9-to-5 job and you're on limited time and you want to be able to find the right person, but you know that this is the type of effort and thoughtfulness that is required to do that, and you don't have that time at all. So let's just make it easy. In fact, it's time to make it easy. So let's get into exactly how to do that with the email vetting sequences that I'm going to share with you right now. Always ask as you seek to scale your business, can I leverage other people or technology? And if you're not into tech, leverage someone who is, because then you'll have both within your reach. So I guess I'm the person to help you leverage tech if you don't already know how to do it. And that is for every role that you're considering hiring for. For vetting candidates, this is also critical because we can leverage technology to do some of the heavy lifting. And what you'll need for these automations, I would encourage you to write this down, because when we talk about the automations, and jump into it, this is going to kind of be the foundation. An initial email template, unique to each role, that will automatically respond to candidates who applied correctly. Remember, unique to each role. And we'll get into this, and I'll show you practically how this happens, but it's going to be based off the title that you ask them to enter in exactly. Capitalization can matter. You can choose for it to matter, but you don't have to. I personally don't. If they don't capitalize things, that's okay. I mean, I have as much grace as I possibly can. If they do everything right, but they just, they use proper case in a title where not everything is capitalized, that's okay for me. So let's get into this, and then templates for various responses depending on the candidate's reply. So these are the two main things, and it branches out obviously into as to like what roles they are and what the responses will be. What I mean by quick replies, when you're talking about the replies, you have them loaded up to where you just click a couple buttons and you're going to be saying the same thing to all of the candidates at the end of the day. Not all of the candidates, but all of the candidates for a specific role. For the most part, you're going to be sharing the same information. So that is to say, you want to have those ready to go. Again, because if you're working a 9-to-5 job, you don't have a lot of time, knowing that this is the route that you need to take to get candidates in your business to scale it and grow it. It can be a lot of stuff, but with all of these automations, it's a whole heck of a lot easier and it becomes easy. So I encourage you to take notes so that at the end of this training, you'll be confident in creating and using these Gmail templates. You'll know how to set them up as well. And that is for canned auto responses and for these quick replies to candidates. And you'll understand the 8 unique templates for each of the roles that you need to create. And the templates to create for each role, I'll just go through them right now so that you have specifically what the heck am I talking about. That is a canned auto response, right? That's what we shared with you 2 slides ago, right here, the canned auto response for each role. And then post-resume review responses. Post-resume review responses. That is, they applied, they replied to the canned auto response. You've qualified them enough because of the way in which they've applied to the role correctly and seen their resume, and you're going to do one of 2 things. You're either going to, and for some of you, you will not tell them who are not qualified. We try to do that, but you will obviously want to extend an interview. So the invitation to interview number 1, and then not extending an interview response, those are the ones you want to create. And obviously with the exception of the not extending an interview response for the initial interview, but you're definitely going to want to create one for the second interview. That is, we're not extending a second interview to you. That's the disposition letter after interview 1 to let them know, hey, thank you for your time. I appreciate you and I value your skill sets. And again, it's because they might be a good fit, but you might only have one position available for that cold caller, for an example, as we've talked about. And that's the template that you're going to easily be able to send out, and it's going to communicate to them that they were a great fit. You're just not going in that direction, and that you're going to ask them, will they be open to a future opportunity with your company, so that you don't have to go back to the drawing board and do all this stuff all over again. The people that we've hired now, by the way, just so you know, are those people who have been referrals of current employees, and that's the next level, right, of this system. And also follow-ups from people who we interviewed a long time ago that we then didn't have to repost a job ad because they responded to this disposition letter after interview 1 or after interview 2 even with a, yes, please keep me in mind for future employment opportunities. And we did. And we did. So we didn't have to go back to the drawing board, which is great. So, we've kind of covered all that. And then the offer letters, of course, like you want to have that via email ready to go and in the docket so that you can shoot that out to them and then not have to second guess or waste time crafting this stuff when the time comes to tell them they got the role. Now I'm going to screen share and show you how to create these automations. All right, bear with me here. What I've done is I have opened up an email account that I don't use. This is just for, I don't know, Google to tell me that there's updates in my account. So the first thing that you want to do and what you can do is when we talk about this, let me just go through here and show you this right quick. Hold on, let's go to this email vetting sequences. All right, some of these email vetting sequences. Let's go ahead and check out, where's the canned response? The canned response for emails. All right, well, it doesn't matter which one it is. but I'll share it with you. This is one. So, hey, thank you so much for your interest in the phone sales representative with our company. We appreciate your patience as it has taken us some time to get back to you. We also want to thank you for following the instructions and sending your application to this email. These are the 3 critical questions that you need to ask as an automated response to their application that's been done correctly. Okay. And these are the 3 questions. They're just very critical for this particular role. They're going to vary for a different role. And the way you want to do this is, I mean, for me, it's just a simple copy and paste, but you can take note of this and again, watch the replay. And if, you know, for the interest of time, I'm not going to go through every line, but there are a couple key points you want to consider in these email vetting sequences. Let them know that you encourage them to do some company research. And then with that research, whether it's a YouTube video, if you don't have a website and you don't have a video or any explanation to your company and what you do, you can send them to, for example, if it's a phone sales rep, a video on YouTube where you want them to pour into training, right? And then talk about it on the interview and say, hey, what value did you gain out of that? What are some key points? Usually this is accomplished, and we'll get into this when we talk about the Calendly appointment. It's those questions that we ask. And that is, you know, homework that's provided after the first interview. On the first interview, you say, we're going to give you some homework to do. And then on the second interview, you're reviewing that homework. Whether the homework is a video that they watched that was a training that you gained value from for that role, or whether it is your own. For us, it's our own, right? We send them to our YouTube and we say, hey, watch this video, whatever. And then like, tell us the learning lessons from that video. What did you learn? What did you already know that you're glad that we're teaching? Because it's a skill set that you believe works. Something like that. Doesn't matter. All right. We just want to make sure that they are on the same page. So these email vetting sequences are going to help with that. And there are those standard questions. This position will operate on the 3 main US time zones. Does this look familiar? Because it was in the job post, right? So this is repetition. And then should you be offered the position, or hours of operation will, you know, and this is, or it'll be a trial basis, part-time, and then it'll last up to 3 months and it'll turn into full-time. Do you understand this, and is it okay? And then what are your starting salary requirements? This is not the beginning of, but is part of the beginning of being able to put yourself in a position to negotiate salary on your terms and not theirs. And we'll get into more of that and share key points as we continue this entire training. But how to do this? You take this, you give it a good copy, you come in here, and then what you want to do is, let's say you titled in the job post right here, where is it? Let's go to phone sales. Let's just go to phone sales. Okay. When you title this, what is it? Subject line, REI cold caller position applicant. Okay. I'm going to have to recopy that other stuff. So that right there in Gmail, and then you want to click on this right here. You want to put subject. So that's the subject that you're going to want. If it has the words in the title, that, and you can also make doesn't have, and you know, you can be specific with capitalization and all that. For me, I don't care, but I'm going to create a filter, right? And once I do create a filter, I'm going to choose to send a category. Oh, forgive me. I actually have to create this first. Guys, back up. This is the second step. Let me do the first step first, because this is a brand new email account. I don't have the templates created yet. So I was right when I copied this first. So you copy this first, you create a template first, and this is how you do it. You go to compose a new one, and then just paste it in here. And obviously you want to edit it. So then make the subject. It doesn't matter what the subject is going to be if it's a direct auto response to an inbound email, because the subject line, it'll just reply to whatever their subject line is. And you've seen that in emails before, you know, where you have a chain. So that's totally fine. But if that is the case, if it's only going to be an autoresponder, then the subject should be something that will let you know what it is. So for me, I'll put 03, phone sales, auto reply, applicant, right? Something like that. And then of course, you don't need to put applicant name in here. You can say, because there's no like, this isn't an email merging software. It's not one that you're able to do that, but it's not really going to matter that much. So I would just say, hi, thank you so much for your interest in the phone sales representative position. And then you add your company name. And then what you want to do is right down here in the more options, you may not have templates available until you actually come up here to the gear icon in the settings. Okay, so be prepared to turn that ability on if it's a brand new Gmail account and you've never done this before. So click right here in the quick settings. You want to go to see all, and then there's a lot of stuff to do, but just click right over here to advanced, upper right hand corner, and then go to templates and click enable. Okay, you have to enable it before you're able to turn anything into a template. I didn't even watch a video about that, and it took me a long time to figure that out. I should have just like Googled how to do that first. But anyway, know it's possible. Your platform, whether it's Outlook or otherwise, will have a function like this. You have to turn it on. And then you have to also click Save Changes. And there you go. So it'll reset. It'll come back here, but don't worry. That other one is saved in a draft. And now we can come down here to the vertical ellipse, these three little dots, and then templates is available as an option. So then you want to save that as a draft and come here to save new template. And there is the name of that template, which is the subject line that you entered into that email, and then click save. Okay. And now that's going to be a new template. So let's just say I deleted that and I want to click compose. If you just wanted to, this is how you would functionally create or use a quick reply. So if this was the second email in the series, let's say you're replying in an email chain to somebody that's a candidate that's qualified, and you're going to bring up the appropriate response. You'd come down here immediately, and then you would go to templates, and then you would just click it. Is that easy or is that easy? I said it was time to make it easy, right? That's pretty dang easy. All of that's already there, ready for you to go. Of course, you know, you're going to have it edited already. So these would be customized. And then you click send, obviously. So I don't think we need, I need to show you. How do you click the send button? So now you're ready to come up here and do that exact thing that we talked about. So the REI phone sales application, REI phone sales, whatever it is, I don't realize that right there. Then you come up here and it has the words, but you want to make it the subject line. I guess what we talked about was REI cold caller applicant. So this is, we're going to tie anybody who replies to this, this post, and they do it correctly, into our Gmail for an automatic response so we can vet the candidates further. And when I say vet, just in case it wasn't clear, what I'm saying is it's these questions that pop up automatically so that we can know what their salary requirement is to make sure that it's within our budget, and it's going to be done automatically. And we want to know, are they okay working on this time zone? And it's going to be done automatically. And, you know, do you have any samples of a phone of you on the phone with a seller? Now, if they had already sent it with their initial application, that's totally fine, right? Whatever. You can even let them know, by the way, in this quick reply, and this is up to you. I do this. I put this as an automated message because we've received such an influx of people who are applying for this role. I wanted to be clear on a few things before we move forward to the next stage. So I let them know it's automated, but I say, regardless, please read it all the way through. And I say it again. So that's fine to add that in there as well. And then when we set this up, so we were talking about how to set this automation up. Subject line has to be that. We can remove that actually, because I wanted to make sure that it was, so subject line is exactly this. And then we go to create the filter. I mean, for this example, if this is all I wanted to do for every single one of the emails that come through my inbox with the title, the subject line, REI cold caller position applicant, I want to create a filter that will send a template right here. You see that? And then, well, this is the only template that I have in here. So this template, okay? And then just simply create filter. So let's test this. so that we can be sure that it works. Okay. So I'm going to pretend like I'm an applicant. I'm going to say, all right, well, let me do this. And I'm going to be on the other screen that I'm not sharing, going to gmail.com. It's just easier not switching screens to share screens. I'm going to go to compose. Actually, what I can do, I think, you're going to go to compose here. Yeah, let me just throw this out here. So this is my personal inbox, which is why there's, I don't know if you can see it, there's like 2,000 unread messages. So the subject line is exactly this. The email is Christian at REI Made Easy Official. Okay. Official.com. There it is. REI cold caller application. And I'm excited about this position. Hey, I am your main cold caller. I'm so excited to apply. This is a test. Okay, so let's go ahead and send this out. Bam. So let's send it out and then refresh. Refresh. Come on now. What we're gonna see if I don't have too many unread messages in here is a reply automatically. Let's look here. I have one, and you see it says 2. You see that little number? It says 2. It's already sent it out. You see this? We already replied 0 minutes ago. 9:42 a.m. This email was received. Hi, I am your main cold caller. I'm so excited to apply. This is a test. And then immediately it went out. Right away. So that's something that is a little hack that I hope benefits and adds value to your business. I'd love to hear and learn and hear your feedback. Is that something that you didn't know before that you just learned and you're excited to implement now in your own business so that you can make this process just as absolutely easy as possible? It feels like it's within easy reach. So that is to say those really quick email responses. I mean, 0 minutes ago, 9:42 and 9:42, sent it out automatically. And that's how to set that up using it. Now, creating these is pretty simple as well. You can just take this same type of information and what you see on the screen here and cater it to each of the roles, right? And again, these are business decisions that you may want to make for yourself, depending on what you want to say, and that'll be it. So we are at 9:43. I know I sped through this really quickly. There was a lot of other things into this I wanted to cover, but I want to get to the appointment scheduling question sets because when you're ready to actually offer them an interview, again, by the way, the interview itself, when you're offering them an interview, is a quick reply, right? Where is it? Invitation to interview, number 1. It's a quick reply. And you will already have this as a quick reply inside of here. So when when I say, okay, cool, I'm going to reply to you, and then I'm just going to come down here, and let's just say for argument's sake that this one right here is, that I just put in here, is this. Thank you for expressing your interest in the phone sales position, for your answer and for your answers to my questions, right? There's a system to this. This was already predetermined and preset, knowing that they would respond to those questions. After reviewing your application, I'd like to invite you to participate. And the only other thing that we need to do, and for us, we already have these links, and we're going to show you that in Calendly up next. So those are going to be including the scheduling question sets as well. But all that said, it goes out quick. It's so fast. And there's nothing that we have to do, no guesswork. That's why it's easy to outsource to your executive assistant, this role, so that you don't have to do it. So when you as the business owner prepare all of this stuff ahead of time, there's no mystery. And not only that, when you hire an executive assistant, right, send them to the YouTube channel to watch this stuff as a training. Leverage me. Leverage this event to scale your business. And then give me some kudos in the comments section when you do, and share this with other people. Share this with other people that you like so that you can help them level up too. And then when their business is successful, you can say, hey, send me any deals that you have trouble closing. I love to joint venture and partner with people and make money with them. Okay. So we are going to, I mean, I don't see any questions or anything. So I'm assuming that all of this stuff is connecting. I'm assuming that we have, you know, we're understanding everything here. We have the appointment scheduling question sets now to dive into. Where is my slideshow? Where's my presentation? Because I got to do that. Let me pull up my presentation, everybody. Thank you so much for your patience with technical challenges. Where the heck did it go? Here we go. I'm going to re-present this and reshare it. So good stuff. Yes or yes. Hopefully that is the case. And the simple act of pulling up that presentation again, because we are going to dive into the appointment scheduling question sets right now, show you what they are, what questions to include as a general, and then we're off to the races. After that, I feel like, what do we got on the agenda? I'm just going to give you a couple of action items, everybody, because this is a class. It's a master class. So just be prepared. I am going to encourage you to take action on this, and I understand that some of you, you're working, and this might not be a, yeah, I'm going to get it done today and by tonight, but by tomorrow, right? Some of you may have it done, and some of you may have this homework done so you can implement this stuff right away. But of course, the last action item, just as a, just kind of as a sneak peek, is you got to determine what your budget is. And I'm going to share this with you now because I'm still pulling up my slideshow here. And what I'm going to share is, you want to make sure that when you budget for all of this, for marketing, for human capital, for whatever it is, especially when it comes to hiring, that you have 1 quarter worth of monthly, right? And again, remember that we're hiring people for revenue generating activities. So this isn't something that is going to be just an expense, it's an investment. And we all know the difference, right? So be sure you can budget consistently, because we're talking about marketing, and marketing it's going to take some time to ramp up. And could you, right out of the gate, get a deal? Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Has it happened before? Yeah, it's happened for new marketing that we've put out where we immediately saw a result, right? But it's not always the norm. So I was smart enough this time to learn how to bring up my presentation. So now that we have it, we're going to dive right in once more. Desktop number 3. All right. We got it? Cool. So the appointment scheduling question sets that I've been excited to share with all of you, actions that you'll be confident taking by at the end of this particular section, creating question sets for vetting through appointment scheduling, using Calendly to vet candidates for interviews number 1 and number 2. Largely this stuff is the same, which is why I'm confident that you'll be confident if you take notes that you're going to be able to implement this stuff as soon as today, as soon as right after we're done with our time together. Additional ways to vet candidates using social media. Now, we may or may not be able to cover that, but this is obvious. I'll just give you a key as to what that is. That is, when they share their information with you, copy and paste their name into Facebook, copy and paste their name into LinkedIn. Just do some digging on who they are to make sure that they do align with your company and whatever they're presenting, right? They're putting themselves out there, their best foot forward on social media. Does it align with your company? All right. So creating sets for these question sets for vetting for interview 1, consider the goal of interview 1. And this is something we're going to talk more about tomorrow. We will get into the real 2-stage interview process, why there's 2 stages, and why that is an absolute non-negotiable for our business. There's no way around it. It's got to be a 2-stage, because we're talking about our business and our families and the people that we love and care about. So consider the goal. It's assuming their resume is a match, of course. Is the candidate a good fit personally? Do they demonstrate a strong work ethic? Now, this all has to do with the candidate evaluation matrix too, which I will be giving you at the end of our time together for those of you who are in attendance. So for those of you who I see, I'm only going to share it via the Zoom link, but they're going to be linked specifically to our system for vetting candidates and our Made Easy interview outline. Okay. But this is one way, just as a high level overview to understand that is using these question sets, will they be a good fit? And will this candidate fit into the team culture? Are they toxic or are they edifying of others? So we are just going to dive right into it because there's nothing else but to show you exactly what I'm talking about right now. So let's get into it. Calendly. Let's go straight to Calendly. All right. And I'm going to go right here and go to the question sets for vetting. Hold on. My account. There we go. All right. So this is Real Estate Investing Made Easy account. And we have a lot of these, right? So let's just look at the interview. Let's look at the acquisition specialist interview. So this will also kind of show you, how to do this, but we're going to mainly focus on the questions themselves. Just as a quick how-to, you want to fill it out and make sure you attach Zoom to it or something else. You want to make sure that you also have a description, letting them know congratulations for being selected for a second interview. This happens to be the second interview, okay? But the principles will still apply. I will share with you the differences, and there are differences that are game changers. So please be sure you document it. There's no excuse for no call, no show. Again, this is vetting. This is another form of vetting. It is your camera must be on for the interview. If you are unable to have your camera on, then we need to reschedule. Because if somebody's going to be working within my business, they will succeed. They will grow as a person. They will grow professionally. But I have to be able to build a relationship with them. It is absolutely a non-negotiable. Period. And I recommend that you make that as a standard for your business. That's just me, right? But you will benefit the growth and scale of your business if you can make a personal connection with somebody, especially when it comes to communication is mostly nonverbal. I mean, I use my hands to talk, right? You wouldn't know that. I'm expressing myself with my hands, and you wouldn't be able to see my face and the tone that I'm using. It matches, and you know that this is, for me, it's serious. This stuff is absolutely like life-changing. And I don't say that lightly. It really is. When you use this system because you're hiring the right people to benefit your business, your camera absolutely must be on. There's no excuse for that. So if it can't be, we're going to reschedule. So I recommend that you use something similar and you do the same thing. And then, of course, we have those questions I talked about. Here we go. So this is for the second interview. Please give a brief description of your understanding of the process identifying on markets. Now, this is a lot different than some of them. I really like to ask them how the first interview went, like, hey, what stood out? Because understand that the very first interview that you have with them, the goal is not necessarily to give them a bunch of quiz questions as to whether or not they know what the role is. I mentioned earlier that for phone sales, what we're doing is we're giving them a mock call and a role play. That's on interview number 2. Interview number 1. Has anybody ever heard of Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People? Well, if you have or if you haven't, let me share with you one of the important points he makes. Take a genuine interest in the people that you're working with, whether you're their leader or whether you're their peer, okay? And you can still be a leader even if you're their peer, but that's another discussion. You want to take a genuine interest in who they are for a multitude of reasons, the least of which is not the fact that they're going to benefit your business, but also, is there something else that they're really good at that you just don't know about? So I'll ask questions like this in these email vetting sequences, okay? In interview number 1. So this is number 2. Interview number 1, I'm going to ask them, like, hey, if you could do anything in the world for work and you got paid whatever you needed to get paid, what would you most want to do and spend your time doing for work? that's going to open it up. Like, and I give an example. I say, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut. By the way, true story, wanted to be an astronaut. One of my best friends growing up is flying fighter jets, and it's awesome. I wanted to do that too as a stepping stone. But, you know, I'm wearing these glasses, which are blue light blocker glasses, but I had other types of eye trouble. So there was no way that they were going to put me behind a $1 billion jet. So it just didn't work out for me. No dice. For him, it did. Super cool. But I want to know that for a candidate. Did you want to be an astronaut? Did you want to be a basket weaver? I don't care what it was. I care about what you wanted, right? It's not about what it is. It's about that we're sharing, and I'm learning more about them. Because if they say, I've always wanted to own my own real estate investing business, because that's happened, and it happens more often than you think, then I say, great. You know, my goal for you is not to put you in a position where you're going to be an employer for the rest, or employee for the rest of your life. Then my goal will then be, should we offer you a position to equip you, teach you, and grow you to whatever that passion and desire is for you. Because my personal experience is I've coached thousands of investors to literally become independent and make millions of dollars in real estate. And again, I don't say that to be impressive. I'm just saying, because the Lord put me in this position and blessed me with the ability to do that, and I have the ability to teach others, like, I'm going to do it. I was a circle, I'm going to fit in a circle. If I was a star, I would fit in a star. My son was just playing with these like little shapes and putting them in the appropriate holes that match those shapes. So that's where that reference is coming from, by the way. So at the end of the day, my desire is not just to grow my business. It's to grow the person. And that's something that I guess, you know, as I share with some people, some of them have, you know, feedback for me that's like, well, you know, I just, you know, I want to be successful at real estate and all this other stuff. It's like democracy. It only works when the people are good. If the people suck and they're evil and they're terrible, like, your democracy is going to fall apart. So when it comes to me hiring people, I want to hire people who are good, that I can help grow to that end goal in their life. So I ask that question. I also ask, if you never had to work a day in your life, what would you spend your time doing? And that's another scheduling question set for interview number 1. And again, I'd encourage you to write some of these down, because it's only going to benefit your business. And the reason why I ask that might be obvious. I just want to understand, what do they do? Do they spend their time lounging, or do they spend their time learning? Or are they fulfilling and chasing after their passions in their time off? Or would they if they didn't have to work? It doesn't matter to me if they say one or the other. If they say, I would spend my time feeding the needy and giving back to the poor and building houses, that is awesome. Okay. Or on the other side, I would spend my time, most of it, if I'm honest, I'd just be going on vacations, exploring. Okay, awesome. On those vacations, like, where would you go? Where's the first place you would go? I'd dive deeper. Okay, great. Now, after you explored all the places that you've explored, what else would you do? Dive deeper. Because again, you want long-term employees who you're going to get along with enough to really add value to and enjoy. You're creating a culture. You're not just creating an employee. You're creating a company that has a culture that they'll thrive in. So consider that. Now, there are other questions like that I include in the scheduling question sets for interview number 1. I also, in some instances, depending on the role, I'll ask the question, hey, what advice would you give to a friend who is going through a tough challenge? Be very general. And then, you know, that opens the book to a whole host of whatever answers, right? The reason I ask that is because I want to know how they're going to interact with their peers, how they're going to approach it. Are they going to come from a place of, well, I obviously know the answer, like, because I'm the smartest person in the room. Okay, maybe you are, but maybe you're not a good fit for my company. Or maybe you would seek first to understand, right? Coming from a place of leadership that is your service. Your leadership is your service. As a leader of my family, as a leader of my company, just like a general in a war or leading troops, his leadership or his service is good leadership. A servant leader isn't somebody who is then, as the general, going to go wax the shoes of the people in his troops. He might do that, but in order to lead well and fulfill what is a servant leader, it is to lead. That's your service, to lead well. So I want to look for, and I say this, by the way, because I mentioned I want to look to hire the person who's going to be the manager first. Remember that. So there's a method to the madness. There's a reason why I ask those questions. So I want to be able to suss out whether or not they'd be a good fit. And by the way, if they don't want to be a manager, that's totally fine. How many of you realize that if every single person wanted to be an entrepreneur, we'd have no employees and we wouldn't ever have any businesses and entrepreneurialism wouldn't exist, right? So all that being said, that's why it's important. I ask those questions for a reason. And that's all in interview number one. And when I'm on interview number one, of course, I look over their resume a little bit. I understand their qualifications matter, but I also want to make sure if they'll be a good fit for the role and they're not toxic and that they're going to add value to the company, not just the company, but also their peers, right? And if they're the first person you're hiring, consider yourself, even though you're not, their peer. You're going to be interacting with them one-on-one, and you don't want to involve yourself with somebody who's toxic. Ask them too, what was the experience like with previous employees? Like give me an example of a time, and this is in the scheduling question sets for interview one. Share an example of a time where you had a disagreement with a coworker. What happened? What was the result? And then bring it back up on the interview number one. If they start talking trash about that employee or their past employer, believe me, it's only a matter of time before they start talking trash about you behind your back. Success leaves clues in the same way that how you do anything is how you do everything. If they're a rotten apple here, if they were a rotten apple there, they'll be a rotten apple here. So that's the reason we want to make sure that we vet them even further, because while as a cold caller, as an example, they might be great on the phone. They've sent over, because we've asked them via the email vetting sequences, they've sent over a sample. We listened to it. It was great. They're crushing it. They're even great at their role. If that checks the box, if their resume checks the box, but then they are just a complete sour apple that ruins everybody and creates a culture that I don't want on my team, I'm not going to hire them. Go mess up somebody else's vision and dream. I built this company from the ground up. I'm not going to let you ruin it. So that's the way you want to be very protective of the people on your team. And that's why I said yesterday, the customer does not come first. The employees come first. When you pour into your employees and you make them the priority, then they will make your customer the priority. And in our case, real estate investors, our customers are motivated sellers, potential sellers. So that's interview number one and a couple examples. Now, interview number two for the scheduling question sets. This is when we're gonna really get down to business, where it's all right, we talked about all that other stuff. You're clearly a good fit. I'm gonna offer you a second interview. And by the way, refer back to the email vetting sequences when you're following back up with them, or your executive assistant is, right? Click the button and invite them to interview number two. So using those email vetting sequences that says oh, it was so great to meet you on interview number one. I really appreciate your time, your energy, your passion for this. And I'd love to invite you to interview number two. And usually what we do is my executive assistant will handle interview number one, and then I'll be on interview number two after having reviewed. Now, the whole prep and everything for that interview that I'm on, I'm going to be sharing tomorrow, because it's about prepping for the interview, what to do, things to consider, and then how to interview properly in the way that we do in our system to boast the 95% employee retention rate, and of course, business success and scale. We're closing deals right now. You notice that I'm a full-time real estate investor, but it's 10 o'clock in the morning and I'm doing a 4-day event, even on Saturday, that I'm closing deals right now, getting notifications of escrow and closings. That's how you do it, by hiring a team that's going to do this work for you, that is going to stick around long term. So then we got to get into the particulars. So do the mock interview, and we'll talk more about the mock interview, but what I would recommend for interview number two is to have more role specific questions. This might not be the best example, But this is good. How do you build and nurture relationships with potential sellers and agents throughout the acquisition process? What strategies do you employ to establish rapport? And of course, we want to ask like the 4-pillar question, like what do you look for when identifying whether a prospect is a lead to sell their house? So that's definitely important. Let me get an example for you for an interview number 2 that's more germane. Here we go, phone sales. Here we go. So, as I said, what is your biggest takeaway from the first interview? I ask that because normally what we get is, wow, I've never had somebody who's an employer take such an interest in me personally. And, that makes them feel good, but it's also very intentional. And we talked about it. I want a good employee who's going to add value to the company culture, not just the company. So then remember I said homework? Out of the training videos that are on the YouTube channel, which one of them seems the most interesting to you that you would be excited to learn more about? This is actually an older one because we've updated it since then. And it was, we sent you the specific link. What are the key points in that training that you have gained the most value from? What did you already know that you're excited that we're in alignment with? And questions like that. The next one is, if you expressed an interest in advancement to a management position and or beyond, please share with us what steps you'll take to get there based on the first interview. Now, based on the first interview, it's obviously, it's going to depend on the role, but we want just to hear open-ended questions or answers to open-ended questions. We try not to do too many closed-ended questions because that's just like, yes, no. So we always want to give a lot of room, multiple lines here, as you can see. And what are the top 3 things you believe makes a great employee? This is where we want to make sure that, as a team player, we want to hear things like, it's whatever they say, but it's nice when I see things like, a great employee will show up on time. A great employee will pour into their peers and help level up their peers and work together, even if it's a commission-only sales rep role. Seriously, like I want my commission-only sales team to be working together because rising tides raise all ships. All of the ships are going to go up when we all level up. So that's the point. And, this, like I said, this was an older one. So this is one of the first questions I asked in the first interview. If you could do anything in the world for work, like being an astronaut or professional food taster, not including this job, what would you do? Actually, I'm glad I came across this because I would recommend you say not including this job, because I got a lot of responses that were like, well, I would do this role. No, you wouldn't. You didn't know about this role until last week. What are you talking about? Is that really what you wanted to do since you were a child? You wanted to do this role? This company didn't exist when you were a kid. I'm sorry. So yeah, all that to say, and the hobbies, that's supposed to be for interview number 1. But I'd love to hear feedback from everyone. Is this valuable? Has this been something that you've learned from so far? Is this something that you're excited to implement into your own business? Even express to me if you see any pitfalls or holes. Maybe it's just something I forgot to cover, because as you know, if you're doing something long enough, right, you may lose sight of the particulars. So I may not have shared something that I do regularly, which is actually really beneficial to bring up to you. So the more that you engage with me, the more that I can add value to you and fulfill on my promise from yesterday in the beginning, and saying that I can bring the energy up, because, being an island is okay after a while, but I want to hear from you guys, and I want to be able to benefit you in particular, even use cases and examples from your business. I'm open to answer any of those questions specific to your business. And I know even so, we're 10 minutes over, right? So that is to say that, I'm here for you guys. If you're getting value from this, I will stick around. All right. There is 1 or 2 more things. I should say there are 1 or 2 more things to cover. And let me just go ahead and try and relocate. I don't know what's been happening to my slides. Oh, there we go. I did it. All right, here we go. Reshare that. I'm going to reshare my screen, and then we're going to go through just kind of wrapping this up. And here's some of the action items that I would encourage all of you to do. I said post the job ad. That should say write the job ad. So get your job as written. And because I know you took good notes, you know which ones to write, the 5 key roles. And then consider what your email vetting sequences will be. Each process of what's going to be automated, what your follow-ups will be. You can revisit the replay that is live on YouTube right now, but will be reposted. You can pause the screen and write that. And then set up your appointment schedule. Calendly is fine. There's a free version of Calendly as well. You can use that. And then draft your scheduling question sets for each of them. And oh, by the way, it says or copy and paste them into Calendly. So, you know, if you already have them, just copy and paste them into Calendly. And then, you know, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about offering interviews to candidates. We already talked about this actually, but set up those email templates, set up your autoresponders, and that will just about do it. Tomorrow, what we're going to be covering is the 2-stage interview keys, the candidate evaluation system, the Made Easy interview guide, and role-specific interview differentials, and conducting candidate interviews. It is going to be action-packed. Again, I opened today with saying that if you thought yesterday was valuable, today is going to be way more valuable. Type I agree, yes it was, and let me know that today was even better than yesterday. Reach out to the people that you know who signed up for this that weren't able to show up today. Point them into the replay. I got Shu that said definitely worth the time and will take actions. Thank you so much, Shu. I appreciate that, and you agree. I'm pleased to know that. Thank you so much. I'm humbled too that you guys would stick with me this long. I'm just a normal guy talking at you here, but it sounds like you've been gaining some value from this, so that's good to hear. And then we're going to talk. By the grace of God, my wife's going to be available, and we're going to talk about sourcing talent for highly skilled positions and a shortcut that you can use to do that. That is like next level. That's like 2.0, and we're going to put it all together and talk about the next steps that you can take action to make this process even easier. Like this entire process on autopilot, I'm going to share with you exactly how you can do that, and it's all taking place tomorrow. I can stick around if you guys actually have some questions. I'm totally fine answering them. But if not, then that's all that we have time for. Philip, thank you so much as well. I appreciate the thanks. I'm excited about tomorrow, guys. And I'm going to be here bright and early tomorrow as well. So I'll have my coffee and we'll take another break so I can fill it up again. But I'll be hanging out with you and I'll be loving it. So I really appreciate all of your interactions. Feel free to also, if for some reason I end this and later on during the day you have questions that you're like, dang it, I didn't have the ability, the time, or even think about this question while Christian was live, go on the YouTube channel. Type it in the comments. I don't know if you guys follow me on YouTube. You definitely should. And I say that just to say that, you know, you guys are real estate investors. We're all real estate investors here. We're leveling up real estate investors on our channel. But what we do is we respond via Feedback Fridays every single Friday to as many comments and questions as we possibly can live. And then in your comments, we'll link the video that we're live responding to your comments. So we take this seriously. We appreciate every single person who engages with us, and we all level up together that way. And it's by engaging. So I very much appreciate you. I'm going to rest my voice for the rest of the day because I'm not on seller calls. That's my team. And that's my goal for you, to be closing deals without you having to be on the grind all the time. We're going to put all the pieces together tomorrow. I'm super excited. Thank you, everyone, so much for showing up. And stick with me tomorrow where we are going to make real estate investing easy. We'll see you guys later.